I walked into the conference room and froze. She was sitting there, across the table, holding my father's hand. Not in a casual family way. Not like you'd comfort a colleague. It was intimate, slow. Her thumb brushed over his knuckles, and the look in her eyes. God, I still can't get it out of my head. My name's Ethan Price. I'm 27, from Boston. I've always been the guy who minds his own business, keeps his head down, works late, stays out of family drama. But this wasn't something I could unsee. And the worst part? The woman holding his hand was Sophie. My Sophie. We'd been together for 2 years. We met at the advertising agency where I work. She was a junior copywriter, sharp and funny, always with that messy bun that somehow made her look like she'd walked out of a perfume ad. We fell fast, too fast maybe. But I thought she was my person. I stood there in the doorway, hidden by the frosted glass, watching. My father, Richard Price, the CEO of Price & Company, the man who made my entire career possible, leaned in, whispering something. Sophie laughed, then pulled her hand away, like she just remembered where she was. That moment burned into me, and I realized my father had been avoiding my calls all week. Sophie had been working late, saying campaign deadlines kept her busy. I told myself it was a misunderstanding. I told myself there had to be a reason, but my gut was screaming. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in my apartment, staring at my phone, scrolling back through months of texts, trying to find the first red flag I'd ignored. Instead, I found something else, a memory. 3 weeks ago, I'd come home early and found Sophie sitting on my couch, crying. She didn't notice me at first. She was staring out the window, her hands trembling, like she'd just heard something life-changing. When I asked her what was wrong, she shook her head and whispered, I can't talk about it. Then, she reached out and took my hand. That's when it hit me. This is the story I've never told anyone. I call it, I saw her crying alone. Then she took my hand. The next morning, I decided to confront her. Not directly, but carefully. I stopped by her office unexpectedly with coffee. She looked pale, exhausted. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Thanks, she said softly, taking the cup. You didn't have to. I watched her work for a few minutes, noticing the way she kept checking her phone. Every time it buzzed, she angled the screen away from me. Finally, I asked, Is everything okay between us? She froze just for a second, then forced a smile. Of course. Why? I wanted to say, because I saw you with my father. But something in her face stopped me. It wasn't guilt. It was fear. That weekend, my mother called. We're not close. She divorced my father when I was 12, moved across the country, and built a new life. But her voice was shaky. Ethan, there's something I need to tell you. It's about your father. She never got to finish. In the background, I heard a door slam and a man's voice. Angry, sharp. She hung up before I could ask questions. Monday morning, my father called me into his office. He was calm, composed, like nothing in the world could touch him. Son, he said, I'm thinking of promoting you, but you need to focus. No distractions. He didn't mention Sophie. He didn't mention that I'd walked in on them. But his eyes, they lingered on me, like he knew exactly what I'd seen. That night, I went to Sophie's apartment. I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I needed the truth. She opened the door, eyes red, face blotchy. Before I could say a word, she whispered, Ethan, I think your family's in danger. Her words hit me like a punch. Your family's in danger. I stepped inside, heart hammering. Sophie, what are you talking about? She hesitated, eyes darting toward the window as if someone might be watching. It's not safe to talk here. Just promise me you'll listen before you get angry. The air felt heavy. This was the same apartment where we'd shared late-night pizza, watched stupid movies, and fallen asleep on the couch. Now it felt like enemy territory. I sat on the edge of her sofa while she paced. Finally, she said it. Your father's company. It's not what you think. There's money moving through accounts that don't exist on paper. And I I've been seeing documents I wasn't supposed to see. I frowned. What does this have to do with you and him? Her voice cracked. He found out. And instead of firing me, he told me I should keep quiet. He said if I didn't, bad things would happen. Not just to me. To you too. I stared at her. My mind wanted to grab onto the danger part, but my heart was still stuck on the image of her hand in my father's. Were you with him? In any way? I asked quietly. Her lips trembled. Ethan, no. But I had to make him think I wasn't going to talk. Sometimes, pretending to be close to someone is the only way to stay alive. My head spun. My father, Richard Price, was ruthless in business, but a criminal? I'd never considered it. And Sophie, if she was telling the truth, she'd been trapped between a man who could destroy her career, maybe even more, and the man she loved. But part of me still didn't know if this was truth or just a story to cover betrayal. That night, I drove home through the pouring rain, her words replaying over and over. When I reached my apartment, there was an envelope taped to my door. No name, no markings. Inside was a single photograph, grainy, taken from a distance. It showed Sophie leaving my father's townhouse at midnight. Her hair was wet, like she just showered. She was wearing a long coat, but it was open just enough to see she wasn't wearing anything underneath. On the back, written in black marker, "She's not who you think she is." I didn't sleep. By morning, my mind was split in two. Half of me wanted to believe Sophie. The other half wanted to burn her out of my life forever. At work, my father acted as if nothing had happened. But I noticed something. Every time my phone buzzed, his eyes flicked toward it, like he knew who was calling. 3 days later, my mother called again. "Ethan, listen to me. Whatever you do, don't trust Sophie. She's working for him." I froze. Working for him? But before she could explain, the line went dead. That evening, Sophie showed up at my apartment, dripping wet from the rain, shaking. "They're watching me," she whispered. "I can't go home. Please, let me stay here tonight." I didn't know what to believe anymore. Every warning from my mother, every picture, every glance from my father, it all tangled in my head. Still, when Sophie reached out and took my hand, I didn't pull away. Her eyes met mine, and she whispered, "Ethan, there's something about your father you don't know, something that could destroy all of us." And just as she was about to tell me, my apartment door burst open. It was my father. The door slammed against the wall. My father stepped in like he owned the place. Rain dripping from his coat, his jaw set like stone. Sophie's hand slipped from mine. She backed up, pressing herself against the wall. "Dad," I said, my voice low, "what the hell are you doing here?" He didn't answer me. His eyes were on her. "You should have left town when I told you to," he said to Sophie, his voice calm, too calm. "I told you. I'm not leaving without telling him the truth," she shot back. He took a step closer. "You don't know what you're dealing with." I stepped between them. "Somebody tell me what's going on right now." Sophie looked at me, tears mixing with rain on her cheeks. "Ethan, your father has been laundering money through the company for years. Offshore accounts, shell corporations. I found proof in a hidden server file. He threatened me. Told me to play along or..." "That's enough," my father snapped. "No, it's not," she yelled, her voice shaking. "I thought if I stayed close to him, if I made him think I was loyal, I could protect you. But I was wrong." I turned to my father, searching for some sign this wasn't true. But he just looked tired. "Son, she's not the hero she's pretending to be," he said quietly. "She's a plant. Your mother sent her." The room went silent. "What?" I whispered. My father's voice was steady. "Your mother's been trying to take me down for years. Sophie was her way in. They planned it. She got close to you so she could get closer to me. Every word she's told you is what your mother wanted you to hear." I looked at Sophie. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. She shook her head. "Ethan, no, that's not true." But my mind was spinning. Flashes of her coincidental meetings with me, how quickly we fell into a relationship, The way she cried that day without explaining why. My father turned to leave, but before stepping out, he looked back at me. Be careful who you give your heart to, son. Not everyone's in love with you for the reasons you think. The door clicked shut. Sophie reached for me. Please, you have to believe me. I love you, Ethan. I never meant for any of this to happen. Yes, your mother contacted me once, but I wasn't working for her. I pulled my hand back. My voice was barely above a whisper. Tell me the truth, the whole truth, right now. She stared at me for what felt like forever, then said something that made my blood run cold. Ethan, your father isn't just laundering money. He's covering up what happened to your brother. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just about love, betrayal, or money. This was about a part of my family history I had been lied to about my entire life. I just stared at her. My brother, I asked slowly. Sophie, my brother died when I was 9. He drowned at the lake. You know that. Her eyes were red, but her voice was steady. That's what they told you. I sank onto the couch, my chest tight. Stop playing games with me. If you know something, just say it. She took a deep breath. Ethan, your brother didn't drown. He saw something he wasn't supposed to, something your father was doing with his business partners. He ran. They found him, and your father covered it up. Said it was an accident. I shook my head. No, that's insane. My dad. Your dad made it look like an accident. She cut in. Your mother's been trying to prove it ever since. That's why she left him. That's why she brought me in, because I had access to internal files. I stood up, pacing. The rain outside felt like it was pressing against the windows, trying to get in. Why didn't you tell me this earlier? Her voice broke. Because I didn't know if I could trust you. You work for him, Ethan. You've defended him your whole life. And I was falling in love with you. That made everything complicated. I stopped in my tracks. So what am I supposed to do now? Choose between the woman I love and the father I've defended for 27 years. She stepped closer. No, you have to choose between the truth and the lie you've been living in. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept thinking about my brother, his laugh, the way he'd race me down the dock every summer, how I'd blamed myself for not jumping in fast enough when he fell. But what if he hadn't fallen? What if everything I remembered was just the version my father wanted me to remember? The next morning, I went to my father's office. I didn't knock. He was sitting behind his desk, reviewing papers like it was any other day. Tell me the truth, I said. My voice was calm, but my hands were clenched. He looked up at me, no surprise in his eyes, no fear. About what? My brother. A flicker, just a flicker, crossed his face. Then he leaned back, exhaling slowly. You were a child. You didn't need to know what really happened. My throat tightened. So it's true. He didn't answer, but the silence was louder than any confession. When I left his office, I knew 2 things. 1, my father was capable of anything. 2, loving Sophie had put her in more danger than she already was. That night, I called her. You need to leave town, I told her. She was quiet for a long time. And you? I can't go. Not yet. Someone has to make sure he doesn't hurt anyone else. Someone has to bring the truth out. Her voice trembled. Ethan, if you stay, you might never get out. I swallowed hard. I know, but at least you will. We didn't say goodbye. We just hung up. I watched the rain blur the city lights through my window, wondering if I just let go of the only person who truly loved me, or if she was always just another player in this twisted game. Sometimes, love isn't enough to keep 2 people together, because love can survive lies, but it can't survive the truth when the truth destroys everything you thought you were.